Chapter 1, Humiliation at the banquet. In the luxurious courtyard of the Heiress estate, all the guests present were well known in the political and business world. The atmosphere was extremely lively. Madame Heiress's 70th birthday celebration was held tonight. A group of juniors came forward to offer their gifts. It was an eye-opening experience for the grandchildren. Grandma, this is a Graf pink diamond tiara. I bought it from a private collector, and it's worth $46.2 million. The price of 1 carat is $1.85 million. It symbolizes that you will forever be the queen of the Heiress family. Grandma, this is a Roy 925 tequila, a bottle costs $3.5 million. In addition, I've modified your car and put 300,000 Schwarzenegger crystals on it. Madame Heiress looked at the gifts from the juniors and nodded in satisfaction, the smile on her face gradually deepening. Everyone was immersed in the atmosphere of extravagance and joy. At this moment, Madame Heiress's eldest granddaughter-in-law, Sharon, came forward with a slightly shabby gift box. She suddenly said, "Grandma, please lend me $1 million. Uncle Smith, the old butler who has been taking care of me, has leukemia. He needs a huge sum of money for treatment." All of a sudden, the hall of the Heiress residence fell into silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. Everyone found what Sharon said unbelievable. This granddaughter-in-law is too bold. Not only did she not bring any valuable gifts to Madame Heiress's birthday banquet, but she even asked her for money in public. It's even an astronomical figure. This is simply crazy. 5 years ago, Sharon's mother Lynn, who was still alive, suddenly came to visit. At that time, Mr. Heiress was still alive, and she insisted that Sharon marry their most outstanding eldest grandson, Wallace. He said that Sharon's father had arranged a marriage with Mr. Heiress years ago. At that time, Sharon was poor and didn't have a stellar family background. She was no different from a homeless person begging on the streets. Lynn had passed away a month after they got married, and in less than half a year, Mr. Heiress had also passed away. Ever since that day, the Heiress family had racked their brains to get the two of them to divorce and chase Sharon away. However, Sharon was indifferent to this. Even when she was insulted, she kept it to herself. Her husband, Wallace, never touched her, as if she were just a decoration or a servant that the Heiress family hired. She had no choice but to borrow money from Madame Heiress today. Before Lynn died, she had entrusted Sharon to Uncle Smith. The reason why she could persevere until now was that Uncle Smith cared for her meticulously. However, Uncle Smith had suddenly contracted leukemia, and because his liver was damaged, he couldn't receive treatment. Repairing his liver function and using the hospital's most advanced equipment required at least $1 million. She was at her wit's end and could only beg the madam who could be in a charitable mood during her birthday banquet. Surprisingly, Madame Heiress's smile suddenly changed. She threw the teacup in her hand directly at Sharon's head and shouted angrily, "You little b*tch. Today is my birthday, and this is how you celebrate my birthday? I think that shabby little gift in your hand is just a stepping stone for you to borrow money." Wallace quickly walked up and pulled Sharon behind him. "Grandma, Sharon was too insensitive and offended you." He looked down at Sharon and pulled her aside. Nicole, Wallace's younger sister, suddenly laughed. Her tone was full of disdain and mockery. "Brother, look at what kind of trash you married. Louis is only engaged to the daughter of the racing team honcho, yet they gifted Grandma $1 million bottle of wine and a crystal-studded car. Your wife, on the other hand, is holding that stupid gift box that costs a few bucks and still dares to ask for money." "That's right, Sharon. We're both daughters-in-law of the Heiress family. It's really too pitiful for you to be the eldest daughter-in-law." The person who spoke was the fiancée of Wallace's younger brother, Louis. She was Cynthia, the daughter of a prestigious family. Although she was about to get engaged to Louis, in her eyes, Louis's talent, looks, and business value were worlds apart from those of Wallace. Back then, Wallace was an internationally renowned male god. Seeing her male god marry a useless B****, Cynthia was very unhappy. "You worthless thing, get the hell out. My daughter-in-law was supposed to be a lady from a prestigious family like Crystal. I didn't expect to be taken advantage of by a poor thing like you." Wallace's mother instantly stood up, pointed at Sharon's face, and scolded her fiercely. IJ Chapter 2, Famous. Don't you know what kind of occasion this is? You've disgraced the Heiress family. Humph, such a person is borrowing $1 million. You won't even know how to spend it after taking the money. She's here to spoil the fun. Sharon listened to the mockery and insults and suddenly clenched her fists. These people only paid attention to me borrowing money, completely forgetting that Uncle Smith is also the old butler who has taken care of them for decades. If not for Uncle Smith's illness, I would have returned to my room early and left this pretentious place. But thinking of her mother's teachings when she was young, Sharon still endured the humiliation and said to Madame Heiress, "I beg Grandma to help Uncle Smith on account of how he took care of the Heiress family for so many years." "Who do you think you are? Don't say such nice words here. It's only a mere $1 million, yet you want to borrow it from our family. If it were Sister Crystal, she wouldn't make our family lose so much face." The person who spoke was Louis, his tone filled with schadenfreude. He had never liked Wallace, so he naturally took the opportunity to mock him. Before Madame Heiress could say anything, the new butler ran in and said loudly, "The gambling king's daughter, Crystal, has sent a congratulatory gift. 1. Land transfer deed that is worth $300 million. As if she had found a treasure, Madame Heiress blurted out excitedly, "Let me see." The butler handed the land transfer deed to the madam, while everyone present gasped in shock. They were all guessing which manor it was. "It's actually the garden estate of the Belgian king, Leopold II." Madame Heiress was overjoyed. "Oh my, Crystal is really considerate. She doesn't even have much interaction with our Heiress family, yet she still thinks of me." Madame Heiress, who was beaming with happiness, turned to look at Sharon. Her gaze instantly turned malicious. "What are you still standing here for? I gave you a chance to step away, but you didn't want it. Get out now, you're not fit to attend my birthday banquet. You go back first." Wallace glanced at Sharon and didn't say anything. That was her husband. Sharon turned around and left, running toward Uncle Smith's hospital. "Oh, my sister-in-law, you're leaving just like that? Are you going to beg for food on the streets? You're really embarrassing our Heiress family. I'll give you $10 to buy some porridge in the slums." Nicole took out $10 from her handbag and threw it beside Sharon. The entire Heiress family erupted into world-shattering laughter. Sharon walked straight toward the door without looking back. After rushing to the hospital, Sharon was still thinking about how to get the attending doctor to postpone the fees for 2 days. What she didn't expect was for the nurse to inform her that Uncle Smith had been put on the experimental treatment plan in the hospital. They had also found a bone marrow donor for him when his liver was repaired. "This. How much does this cost? Nurse, tell me. I'll think of a way immediately." The nurse said, "A total of $1.6 million. Someone has already paid $600,000 for you." "Who paid?" Sharon was a little surprised. The nurse shook her head. "I'm not sure." Sharon was about to go to the payment office to figure this out when she turned around and saw a man in a suit and white hair standing behind her. Their eyes met, and the man gave her a gentlemanly bow. He held her hand and kissed it before saying, "Miss, you've worked hard for so many years. You are from the Xavier family." The man was pleasantly surprised. "Miss, you still remember me?" Sharon instantly retracted her hand, her expression stern. She was so agitated that she was speaking incoherently. "How could I forget? I remember all of you. Back then, if you hadn't chased after me all the way, forcing my mother to change her name, causing my father to die in an accident, and leaving my mother and me to rely on each other. Why did you come looking for me now? Miss, Master was devastated when your mother passed away. He has been looking for you all these years, he hopes that you can go back. Sharon sneered. What if I refuse? Master said that even if you reject him, you will always be his granddaughter. This card was given to you by him. The passcode is your birthday. He will let you manage all the media industries in New York and will also acquire the biggest company under your name. The man took out the proof and a card. Take it away. I don't need it. If Miss doesn't need it, what about your benefactor, Uncle Smith? Are you threatening me? The man hurriedly said, of course not. As long as you accept this card, all your problems will be solved. How much money is in this card? Sharon didn't have a good impression of her grandfather, whom she had never met before. Master said that this is just pocket money. $10 billion. Chapter 3, Transformation of Identity. $10 billion. Sharon stared at the man in front of her in disbelief. In the past, she only knew that her grandfather's family was very rich. However, she was too young back then and was very ignorant about money. She didn't even understand what her grandfather's family did. She had only heard that her mother's family directly controlled a financial reserve system. There was an independent and private central bank, which was the largest holder of organized debt in many countries, including gangs, and kept secrets for the shareholders. Hence, she didn't know how much money her grandfather's family had, but at this moment, she could make a clear comparison. $10 billion was the net worth of the entire Heiress group, but Grandpa said it was her pocket money. Therefore, the Xavier Group's market value would probably exceed $1 trillion. At this moment, Sharon admitted that she was tempted. But at the thought of her father's death and her mother changing her name and leading a wandering life, Sharon couldn't forgive her grandfather. The man seemed to have noticed her hesitation and hurriedly explained, Miss, you are indeed a member of the Xavier family. You deserve this money and business, and strictly speaking, this money belongs to Miss Lynn, your mother. Master also said that if you are willing to go back, the family's financial business, car manufacturing operations, fashion business, are all for your choosing. You will also get a share of the family assets. Master will always be waiting for you. As for this money, it's just your living expenses. Perhaps because there was too much information, Sharon couldn't react in time. Also, the Sullivan Group in New York, which has a market value of over $100 billion, has been bought over by us. You are now the biggest shareholder of this company. As the CEO, you can go to the company and take over at any time. Didn't Grandpa hate father? Why did he spend so much money on me? $10 billion plus $100 billion company. Although New York was a place where the rich and powerful gathered, the Sullivan Group's position was unshakable. Even the Heiress Group had to consider whether they could go head-to-head with it because it had a firm grasp on the New York real estate, cable, and steel business. They were considered an industry giant in all these industries. Not to mention that the Carter family, who had insulted her today, wasn't even worth mentioning in front of the Sullivan Group. But now, I've become the largest shareholder of the company. Is this possible? Just as she was feeling conflicted, the man handed her a business card and said with concern, Miss, you might need to calm down and think about it seriously. It's not convenient for me to disturb you at this time. This is my business card. My name is John, but you can just call me Uncle John for Master's sake. I've been in New York for a while now, so if there's anything you need, just tell me. With that, John turned around and left, leaving Sharon in a daze, who knew not what to do. She really didn't know if she should accept the Xavier Group's sponsorship. But on second thought, the pain of her mother's death and the mockery she received when she married into the Heiress family over the past 10 years of her life were all because of her grandfather's ruthlessness. If he wanted to make it up to her and her mother now, it was understandable for her to accept it. Furthermore, Uncle Smith had been taking good care of her ever since she entered the Heiress family. His health treatment could no longer be delayed. Even if she solved the problem of his liver being damaged, she would still need to pay a considerable sum for future treatment. At this thought, Sharon picked up the card and took a deep breath. She then aerated her teeth and walked to the payment counter. "Hello, I am here to pay $1 million for the bill of Smith. He is currently warded in the ICU. While shivering, she swiped the card and entered the password. This was the first time Sharon had so much money. 2 hours ago, she was the Cinderella that everyone looked down on. Now, she had become a billionaire. Before she even entered the villa, she could already hear the sounds of quarrels from within. Sharon sighed. It's probably not going to be easy today. They didn't live in the Heiress family mansion but in a separate villa. Ever since Sharon married Wallace and Mr. Heiress passed away, Madame Heiress had found a random reason to send them away. Other than Wallace, who was often called back, everyone else was busy with their own business. At this moment, Wallace's mother was furious and kept cursing. "Sharon, that *tch. Our eldest branch of the family lost so much face today. If you don't divorce her, will you still have a place in the Heiress family?" Wallace closed the book in his hand and said calmly, "I have my own company, I don't need to worry about this." "FJU. Are you stupid? What's so good about that poor woman? Hurry up and divorce her," Wallace's mother said anxiously. "Marry Crystal immediately, and our family will have a better life."